Hi everyone, so welcome back to another video. I will be honest, I wasn't sure that I was going to come on here to do another video today for this week. However, I finished the Heal the Witch Wound by Celeste Larson over here. It took me about a week to get through, but after reading it, I knew that I had to take some space and some time to process a lot of things that came up for me while I read this book. And I didn't want to rush through creating a YouTube video talking about this, reviewing this book to the best of my ability. But I decided to come on here anyway and see what happens. And hopefully, you guys take something away from this video because I know that I have. Um, you know, this is a very empowering book, but it's not a book that I feel that you can do without having a notebook or a pen at your bedside because you may want to write down the things that have come to you as you read it or what insights show up. It doesn't have to be a big insight or a life changing insight, but it could be something that you're breaking open and you're kind of like, oh, I never realized that. And I think for me, for this book, it really opened my eyes to um, who I am as a person. Even just, doing this video and reading this book, you guys, I was afraid of being judged by my loved ones. I don't want anyone to be judged at all, even if they identify as a modern witch. I respect everybody and their path. Um, I don't identify as a witch, but I knew that my grandmother had very similar practices because of her religion. She would light incense, she would give offerings, she would pray to gods and goddesses. This was how she lived her life. She was a very religious woman, and she was on my mind pretty much almost the whole time as I read the book because with her beliefs and her practices, if she was born during that time period, she would have been targeted. And if I was born in that time period with a disability and not in this time period, I would have been targeted. Now, I know in my own life, and I know from observing, news and what's on television, people with disabilities are still facing oppression. And I know this because I live with a disability. I was born with cerebral palsy. So again, we do face oppression in a very very different way. Like, no, again, nobody's going to burn me or accuse me of practicing something that they consider to be evil when it's not. It's just a spiritual practice, and it's also uplifting your life. That's how I approach anything that's spiritual. It's the first and foremost is uplifting your life first, so that way it has a positive ripple effect to those around you. And I told my boyfriend, I didn't want to be judged for reading this book, but I also realized that this was the collective wounding at work. This is how it's showing up because I felt like, uh, was I weird or strange because I wanted to read a book like this. And I'm not weird or strange, and I do see within my own family, my grandmother's practices are honored traditions, and it was, Diwali yesterday, so it's a very, very big thing. And I even asked my mom if she could do me a favor and please light an incense in my own home because when I moved into my home, I didn't bless my home when I first moved in. So the things that I'm trying to incorporate in my life. The other thing that I walked away with was just knowing that we are all empowered. I think life just hits us very hard where we're in a position that we're disempowered and we forget how much magic that we have within our own lives, even when things are really, really, really tough and uncertain. There's going to always be the right people to help you, or, you're realizing the resiliency that you have in yourself. And for me, my magic is, gods, angels, spirit. Um, Even this book also inspired me to research my ancestors of where they possibly resided. So I went on myheritage.com and I inputted my last name. My last name is what I shared with my mom. I don't have my dad's last name. It's a long story. But I put it in there and I found out that somebody um, was born and died in England. And I thought that was very interesting. I never knew that I could possibly have roots in England. I never knew that, and I definitely have a great grandfather that was from India. That I knew for sure because my grandmother had shared that information with me. Um, I wish I could ask her more questions, but sadly she's passed away. So, when I was doing this reading and this work, because Celeste has you, she asks you questions within the book, and this is why I said, keep a notebook and a pen next to you because you may want to answer these as you read or whatever comes into your mind, and try not to judge it, not to second guess yourself. Um, and what came through was India and England, and I double checked that. I was like, cool, and it kind of reminded me of my first year in college. I was in a Canadian politics class, and we had to do an ancestry project where we had to try to find our roots. And I didn't know much, and nothing came up on the traditional websites at the time to search for your ancestry records, and nothing came out for my last name at all. And then this time around, something did. Over 50 documents came up, and it was really interesting. So I'm keeping an open mind and an open heart, and chances are, because my last name is so rare and uncommon, anybody that has our last name from my mom's side is most likely a distant relative that I probably never knew. So when I found out there's England roots, I'm like, oh well, that's cool, and I'm just keeping an open mind to that. There is a bit of self doubt, and maybe is it real, But these are professional ancestry websites, so documents may not always be accurate based on what I read because of the time period and stuff like that. But I figured that was just really cool for me to go on if I ever wanted to look into more. But I don't feel the pull to do that. I just felt the pull to just have a few places to go off of, and just to kind of put, some location to my ancestry, which I thought was really, really cool. Um, and that was probably one of the most fun parts of the book. But I also walked away from this book just really analyzing, the media around me of where we could see the witch wound. And I wrote down a couple of things that I saw them in a couple of movies. I saw the witch wound at work in movies like Harry Potter. You see Petunia, say to Harry that she always knew that he would always be just as strange as her sister Lily, his mother, or that she found her sister Lily to be a freak. But really, all that wounding came from was fear, of course, but also Petunia was very jealous of Lily because she got into Hogwarts and Petunia could not go because she had no magical ability. Now, how this story is told, only a select few have the magical ability, and people that don't have the magical ability are called Muggles. Now we know, based on spirituality, and people are waking up to the fact that we all have abilities, spiritual abilities. Connect with spirit, and the magic of our own lives. Whatever that is for you, and uniquely to you, that is your magic, and that is your empowerment. And empowering yourself is magical in itself because it has ripple effects to those that are around you. And that's what I came off of this book, and I just felt more empowered after reading it. Um, I won't go into too many details because there is a lot here, and I think you guys will get more out of the book if you guys read it for yourself, or I think there is an audiobook if you want to listen to the book instead, but still have a notebook and a pen with you just in case you want to write some stuff down. But I will say, When I found out that people with disabilities were victims of the witch trials as well, I cried. Um, I think it's nobody should be treated like this because they have a different spiritual belief, or they probably weren't even witches. I just, I don't know, you guys. I think I had some very conflicting feelings where I didn't know, right? I didn't know that fear can make people so afraid that they are just nasty to other people and treating people poorly. That's just terrible. Um, but yeah, I cried and I just felt, hurt, and I just felt angry. And if this were to happen to me in today, just because I was disabled or I have a different spiritual belief, or people dislike me because I have a different spiritual belief, then that's hurtful. Nobody, everybody, I'm sure a lot of us want to stand in our own power, but we are so afraid to because we don't want people to turn against us or brand us as evil people when we really don't, you know. And granted, there are people in this world that are very not kind at all, but I don't think having a specific practice or religion makes a person evil by default. It's what they do, it's how they live their lives, it's how they treat other people. And I think what I've learned from the witch wound, what I want to get more back into, is practicing more gratitude. So, for example, to improve my relationship with money, I would say, I'm starting to say now, whenever I pay a bill or buy a game, I say thank you. Whenever I receive money, I say thank you. It's just a little bit of a practice where I'm remembering that there's so much to be grateful for, because when life hits us in our butts, we forget that we have so much. We have so much that we can share with others. We have so much to be grateful for. And I'm so grateful that I am safe and I can have, I can explore things in such a safe way and be, just this person that I'm meant to be. And I've also, when I finished the book, I realized I didn't want to be in journalism anymore. I didn't want to cover video games anymore. Journalism, as well as other professions out there, every career is very stressful. Journalism is the only thing that I can speak on. It doesn't bring me as much joy anymore, but right, reading books does, you guys. Reading books brings me joy. Creating videos brings me joy. And I'm looking over at the witch wound right now in my notebook. I want to go in a different direction, and YouTube is my direction. And thank you guys so much for sticking with me, and I appreciate it. And thank you for the lovely comments as well. But so again, if you want to get more out of the witch wound beyond this review, please pick it up for yourself so you can read it or listen to it on audiobook. You'll get more out of the book that way, than just with me sharing my thoughts about it. I think it's a lot more healing that way if you guys can read this book for yourselves. But take care, guys. I appreciate you all, and thank you. Bye bye.